Kiosema Forest in eastern Cambodia is one of the most protected in the country. Multinational companies like Disney and Boeing have donated millions of euros to prevent deforestation here. Yet, illegal loggers continue their operations. These environmentalists are tracking them. These activists are not police officers. Instead, they simply document the criminal activities here.
He says he comes 2 to 3 times a month and cuts about 10 trees a month. But in reality, he must be cutting many more trees. I would say he probably cuts 50 to 60 trees a month. Look at how he's dressed. He only earns enough money to buy fuel for his motorcycle and rice to eat. On the other hand, the businessmen who buy his wood make millions.
There's nothing we can do. It's really sad to see this.
For 25 years, Ouch Leng has been fighting to save his country's forests. Some of these forests receive financial aid from multinational companies. Aid is supposed to help conservation projects to protect Cambodian trees and absorb carbon from the atmosphere. In exchange for the funding, the companies get carbon credits, with which they balance out the CO2 that they emitted in the course of their business activity. But according to Leng, carbon credits have not slowed down illegal logging. And to prove it, he uses these night vision cameras.
We're putting the camera here to film trucks transporting wood to Vietnam through the border, which is 5 kilometers away. I've collected videos which prove that our wood is being sent to Vietnam and China. It's then sold to Europe and the United States.
And yet, US-based Disney has spent over 2 million euros on carbon credits meant to prevent the traffickers from cutting down trees.
The multinational companies which funded poorly managed projects where forests disappear, they'll be held accountable one day for crimes against the environment. They'll have destroyed our ecosystem with consequences for the whole world.
In Cambodia, there are at least 20 carbon offsetting projects, and some, under the UN REDD+ framework, claim to fight deforestation. We travel to the other side of the country, near to the Thai border, to the largest REDD+ project in Cambodia. It is also the most controversial one. At the core of the debate, huge dams authorised by the government. 5 are already in operation, 5 more under construction. These sites lead to deforestation of large parts of the protected area, potentially jeopardising the carbon credits sold to companies like Delta Airlines, Air France and La Poste.
Okay, yeah, right, we should get into position. Say the lights off. Am I low enough?
Yes.
Okay, get down, come on.
Get down now.
This British journalist is trying not to attract the attention of the Cambodian police and the powerful timber mafia.
Feeling a little bit nervous, to be honest, because there's quite a lot at stake here.
Jerry Flynn wants to prove that the construction of these dams, meant to generate more decarbonised electricity, is providing cover for a large-scale illegal logging operation.
Okay. 3.6 kilometres. Bond, can you hand me the drone? Time to get busy.
Jerry works for Monga Bay, a non-profit news outlet specialising in environmental issues. With his drone, he wants to collect images of these dam construction sites and show that buying carbon credits fails to protect forests against state-backed infrastructure projects.
Home point updated.
It's all misty. Yeah. Oh, go as quick as we can. This bit looks pretty bad. They are destroying this place. We can see all of the little roads coming out from the logging camp. They just go snaking off into the jungle. That's how they're getting the protected timber. Okay, come on, come back. Okay, let's go.
To the car.
Yep, let's go. All right, tell you what, I think we've got enough. I think. Oh, yes, I think there's a logging truck. Here you can see the rails where they roll the tree trunks along to the sawmill. So it's cut up by the saw. Then you have all of these sort of little pieces. But if we look over the river here, you can see more logging trucks right here. That's got timber on it. This is all timber that they've got stacked up here. And it's all coming from inside the jungle. You can see all these roads going out into the jungle from the logging operation.
At these giant construction sites, many more trees than originally allowed are being cut down, going well beyond the authorised area.
There is limited access. Barely anyone can get in to see what's actually happening. But we now have the evidence that they're logging in the Red Plus projects.
Thousands of trees cut down illegally to be sold to fuel the global demand for wood.
People are buying carbon credits under the illusion that that is going to help protect the forest. And yet what we see time and time again in Cambodia is that these Red Plus projects often fail to prevent large-scale deforestation that's being caused by the development of these hydropower dams.
Carbon credit projects seem incapable of protecting not only nature, but also the people who call these regions home. This Red Plus project has also been criticised for the way it treats indigenous populations. Once the project area was defined, some people lost access to land their families had been cultivating for generations. This is what happened to this farmer in 2022.
My rice field was there. It was burned by the military police, forest officers, and members of an NGO, foreigners.
Brutal methods used to force residents to leave the protected area.
I have nothing against nature, but we can't just admire nature. We need to live with it. We don't have fixed incomes, like civil servants or people with jobs. If we don't have our fields, we have no money, and life is too harsh for us. And I'm not the only one in this situation. There are hundreds of families.
In this region, carbon credits have funded schools, sanitation blocks, wells and solar lamps. But for Bo, all this means nothing. His children had to leave the village to look for work elsewhere. He lives alone with his wife, scarcely earning enough to survive. Ironically, those who used to cultivate rice take out loans to buy some.
The rice we used to grow was much better. The one we buy at the store has no taste. But we have no choice.
The next day we leave this farmer with an image of what his new life has become. At 48, the rice farmer is forced to fish to make ends meet. In Paris, we meet the researcher who raised the alarm about the abuse of carbon projects in Cambodia. Her revelations have led to a year-long suspension of the Southern Cardamom project that we visited. But the Cambodian government's interest in the carbon credit market has not diminished.
The Environment Ministry has vowed to turn every national park in the country into a REDD+ project. And national parks make up 41% of the country. So we're talking about a commitment to turn about half of the country into a REDD+ project. That's incredibly significant. At the same time, it's a country with a long history of land rights violations. You know for a fact that if you're setting up a project in this context, this is a risk. And then, at the very end of that chain, you have the companies actually buying the credits. They're not responsible for implementing the project. But obviously, given all the scandals in this market, at the very least, out of a concern for reputational exposure, they should be doing due diligence on the credits that they buy.
None of the companies involved in this report accepted our interview requests. Boeing simply stated, Boeing acquires carbon credits through a globally recognised agency. This agency is called Vera. It certifies 2/3 of the credits available on the global carbon market. But in 2023, The Guardian alleged that 94% of the credits certified by Vera are phantom credits and have not led to a reduction in CO2 emissions. The NGO refutes this accusation and claims that while REDD+ projects may not always manage to prevent deforestation, they do slow it down.
You have a dam that's under development and is causing deforestation, it doesn't mean that you haven't had a benefit to the broader area. The project absolutely avoids deforestation. You would see something that is much, much higher if you did not have that project in place.
Vera's representative argues that carbon credits are one of the few ways of getting polluting companies involved in the fight against climate change.
Carbon credits themselves are not the only answer, and they've never been the only answer. But typically speaking, when a company starts investing in carbon credits, what that does is put a price on carbon. All of a sudden, they're actually accounting for their footprint. So in fact, in general, it actually encourages those companies to take more action.
Science shows that companies need to cut down their carbon emissions to avoid critical ecosystem breakdowns. But many companies are now increasingly reluctant to invest in this much criticised market. Since 2021, the total value of carbon credit transactions has dropped by more than 60%.